Hi guys, fairly interesting topic today. Can you increase the resolution of your STL files even more than I described in the previous video? It turns out you can. It would also go for the rest of the objects. So I'm going to bring you to Fusion and also going to show you in Orcheslizer. So I have this model here, and it has some curved surfaces. It has a round edge here, and you would typically want it to print as smooth as possible, and you don't want to have any edges. Cursed hiccups. Had to take a break there. Anyway, let's try that again. So when you export or you try to print to an export with Fusion, in my previous video I showed you one option you could use. So you can go to mark the object you want to print, and it's selected, and you can select export or you can use print. I'm just using print for this. And then you can select which application, or you can just leave it at export for now because we're going to save it as a file. And in my in my previous video I showed you this field here called surface deviation, how much it should deviate from the model when you get it out. The problem here is the Fusion has a limit on how low it can go. So if you drag it all the way to the bottom, it will do a calculation based on the model itself, and it would say, okay, this is the smallest one I can get. And but if you go in and let's say I want to see how small it could have been, you can put another 0 there, and you can see you get a lot more triangles. So now it's so if I remove that, now 15,000 triangles, one more 0, then you have 33, and then one more 0. And then it takes longer to calculate. Now you have 269,000 triangles. But the indicator is red, so you cannot save it. But there is an option around that. So you set it to the smallest slicer you can get here. And then you have this one, normal deviation. For the first clicks here, it doesn't really change anything, but when you go to number 2 and pay attention to this number, it's still not red. When you go to number 2, you can increase it. So now you have, now there is 4,638 triangles. If I go to number 2 here, there is 5,978 triangles. And it doesn't change the surface, it just enhances it, as far as I know. And if you put it to 1, then you have 15,000 triangles. So let's try that again. Go to high, that's the standard setting, and then we do this all the way to the right. And remember, I put one more 0 here, but it turns red. Then that's 13,000. But the alternative is less than 5,000. But if you drag this one to the smallest one and you drag this one to 1, then you have 3 times as much. So this is 15,956 triangles. And yes, you can save it like that. You can save it as an STL, you can save it as an object, 3MF, or whatever. And it will actually be printable. Now, I have 2 files I'm going to show you in the slicer. The first one is one I have selected with high, and I just dragged the surface deviation to the smallest it could be here. So this is like 0.000282 deviation. And that is, let's see if I can get my Orca here, this file here. And then you have the other file where I went to 1 and I exported that here. And let's check out the other one first. So this is the original one where you just changed one slider. You can see there are still some um, some triangles showing, or like edges showing. But if you go to the other one and zoom all the way in, you cannot see anything, because it's 5 times as many per row. If you spend really good, you can actually see it here on the perfect circle. But you can see that even better here. So this is the perfect circle on the one where you just change one slider, and this is where you change the other one. Now, would this normally matter when you print with 3D printers? No, I don't think so. Not when you're that high resolution. But if you want to CNC, use machine cutting, then this could actually matter a lot, because this here is 3 times less of a wireframe model than this one. And I think I would get a much more precise model from CNCing of this than of this. So I thought I would just show you guys how you can get around this problem. And hang on, I just have one thing I want to try here. Let's say I want to cancel that, create a sphere. Let's just try and create a sphere. Let's make it 10. Okay, and then I'll just export that one, print, preview. I'll just set it to high and turn it all the way down. So this is like the standard setting for a sphere. Press OK, and I'll just call it 1. And then I'll do that again. Put on this thingy. And then I'll drag that slider to the bottom. And you guessed it, I'm gonna try and push this one to its limit as well. And okay. So that is sphere 2. Let's try and bring that into Orca Slicer. Sphere 1. That's sphere 1. That's like with the highest, lowest resolution of the highest. Ooh, sorry. Let's try and bring out the other sphere that I supposedly inputted. It doesn't look bigger, so I don't know. It didn't look like it changed either. So that's interesting. It didn't seem to affect the sphere that I modeled. So that is interesting. So I reduce that as much as I can. Turn on preview. Then that could have something to do. because if you hold your mouse, specify the maximum angle between the vectors of each face on the mesh body. So if it is a sphere, the vectors would be the same everywhere. I think, I'm not sure. So you wouldn't get like on my other model where you have some flat surfaces and where you can sort of try and adjust towards those, because everything is like a sphere. Sphere is basically a lot of perfectly square brackets put next to each other, so it sort of folds around in the middle. That's why if you have a sphere and I increase it like this, you will see that it's just a lot of squares basically put together. Let's see if I change this now, if that will change. So that changes it like that. Let's see if it becomes less if I do this. So that is interesting. If you look at the triangle count now, it's 12,888. If I go here, for 142,128. So there it actually mattered a little bit. But how big would that become? Save. Yes. And I'll just go back to Orca. Sphere 2. It's still the same size. So I honestly don't think it really mattered that much. But on my object, it really mattered a lot, because I could get a more higher resolution object out. So thought I would share that with you guys, and hope to see you in the next one. Like and sub for more.